let's say someone is looking at a bunch of investments. Can you give a comparison between if they bought stock outright versus a private placement? How does that profile change for the investor?
Sure. So I'll give you the perfect example. Okay.
Okay.
So I know you got a silver audience. You're a silver guy yourself. So I'm gonna give
I
you
like silver a little bit, they
a
say.
little bit. Yeah. I'm gonna give you a silver example.
The land of Arcadia.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. And as we enter this exciting period of life, known as what I'm going to start calling the calm before the silver mania. I'm not saying it's happening tomorrow, but sure seems like it's getting close with what's happening. Eric Sprott, Andrew Guire talking about wholesale silver shortages. Bullion banks announcing they're pulling back from the COMEX, but nothing to see here. But for those folks who are noticing things like that, I'm excited today to have Arash Adnani from privateplacements.com, who you may have seen last week. I was fortunate to be on his show, and it's a pleasure to have you here today, Arash, because I think there's some great investing opportunities that are going to happen in this coming bull market, which we will dig into today with the private placements. Although far more importantly than that, how are you today, sir?
Doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Very excited.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm hoping to make it up to Vancouver sometime this summer. Bummer that we won't be together at the Sprott show in person, but
Yeah.
something I know you've been helping a lot of companies and your clients with is the whole private placement market, which is probably new to a lot of folks. I'm still a beginner in that, but I was thinking maybe today you could give us a 101 version. What is a private placement? And then we can dig in a little bit from there.
Sure. Yeah. So a private placement is probably the most efficient way for a company to raise money. And the way it works is that the company, the issuer, sells new shares directly to investors that are participating. So investors aren't buying on the open market, they're buying directly from the company, which makes it really attractive. Makes it attractive because the money that you're investing is going straight to the balance sheet and it's being used directly for whatever the use of proceeds is going to be for that financing. In the case of mining and exploration companies, it's a lot of time put towards drill programs and actually working on the project and the resource, which is really exciting for investors to know that their funds and their money is going directly into work and hopefully directly into creating shareholder value.
So that
And
means
so
no JP Morgan fee on that type of deal.
no, and listen, there's two types of private placements. There's brokered and non-brokered. And
Okay.
so the brokered, there's going to be an agent or an underwriter that goes out and raises the money and they collect a fee. The non-brokered is the company going directly to their network and directly to the street to raise the money. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot of non-brokered financings that happen. It's very popular and it makes it a lot easier for retail investors to get involved. And so, and this is something that we're talking about this before, and I just wanted to touch on it real quick. 2020 has been the year of the retail investor. There has been such a surge in retail money that's come into the market, both in US and Canada. The numbers are staggering. So first of all, the big four online brokerages, so that's TD, Interactive Broker, Charles Schwab, and E-Trade, they combined reported that they had more transactions, so more trades for March and April this year than the entirety of the first half of last year.
Wow.
Okay. And a lot of these accounts were started in March. So a lot of these accounts were started when people had to stay home. They were maybe already doing some betting, some online gaming, etc. And they see how easy it is to set up an account and start trading stocks. And so the parallels are right there, which is really interesting. The second point on these non-brokered deals is the surge in actual non-brokered financings. So year to date, there's $5.6 billion raised by non-brokered financing. That's 5.6.
Wow.
And it's a 2.5 billion increase from last year.
Wow.
So when I say it's the year of the retail investor, I mean, you're seeing it in the numbers. A lot of the institutional money and the professional investors have been sitting on the sideline during the pandemic, starting to come back in. But the retail investors are leading the way. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this current environment where we're getting away more and more, I feel, from the JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs model and to more open information where people can actually do research, find good deals. So that's why it's fun to dig into this today. And could you compare, let's say someone is looking at a bunch of investments, can you give a comparison between if they bought stock outright versus a private placement? How does that profile change for the investor?
Sure. So I'll give you the perfect example. Okay.
Okay.
So I know you got a silver audience. You're a silver guy yourself. So I'm going to give
I
you
like silver a little bit.
a
They
little
say.
bit. Yeah. I'm going to give you a silver example. So
Perfect.
there's a company here in Canada. The name of the company is Discovery Metals. Okay. Discovery Metals, they're a silver explorer developer with projects in Mexico.
And I
Discovery
think the guy
Metals.
who actually first told me about them is my friend whose name is Neil Silver. Go figure. So
It's a great story. They just announced today the closing of the second tranche of a financing they did. So they ended up raising a total of $25 million at 55 cents.
yeah.
Okay. There's a warrant attached for 2 years at 77 cents. A warrant, in case your audience is not familiar, a warrant is a sweetener that they attach to a financing, and it gives the investor the option to purchase more shares at a fixed price.
Right.
It's not an obligation, it's an option. And
Right.
so if you make the right call, you're being rewarded twice for your investment. Now, in this case, the financing price was at 55 cents a share. The warrant exercise price is 77 cents. Okay. They're trading right now at 79 cents.
Wow.
So whoever participated in this financing, they already got about a 50% increase in their investment. And for 2 years, they have the option to buy more shares at 77 cents. And that right there, that example is the reason why you want to invest in private placements versus buying an open market. There are other reasons as well. I mean, it's more efficient for the investor as well. When you think about it, you can buy in bulk. So you can go and buy a 10,000 or 100,000 share block in a company, where if you were to just go and buy that in the open market, it's going to take you a long time,
Right.
especially if it's not a liquid stock. And most times you also get a discount to market. So listen, if there's a company you like and have announced a financing, you can contact the company and see if you can get an allocation, and I gotta plug our website here because I feel like this is a good natural time for the plug. So we created a website called privateplacements.com earlier this year. And as the name suggests, the website aggregates all private placements in all of Canada. Okay, that's every Canadian listed company, and not just silver and mining, every sector.
Yeah.
And so anytime a company announces a private placement that they're going out to raise money for, that financing, that term sheet gets added to the website. The website's updated daily, and you can filter and sort financings by sector. So if you're only looking at precious metals, you can just hit precious metals. If you only want to see financings that have a warrant, you can select that. If you want to pick non-brokered, you can select that. It's a very robust filtering system, and it's all about saving you time and giving you access to these deals that you otherwise would have to do so much digging around and so much research to discover.
Yeah. And so let's say someone is on privateplacements.com and they're looking through a bunch of different deals, or even when people go to some of the shows, hopefully we'll be having in-person shows again soon. But one of the things I find is that I'll talk to a whole bunch of companies, and for me, it's been like learning a new language of just, all right, how do you really evaluate these deals? What are things that people can look for when they see a couple of deals? What are red flags? What are the first things that you check that people might not be aware of?
Listen, if you already know what sector you like or you're interested in, then the next no-brainer is people. Okay. And you hear this a lot everywhere, and a lot of people might just overlook it because it just seems so simple.
Right, right.
But it's the truest thing. Okay. And when we say people, you want to really look at the management team's track record. You want to see what they've done in the past, not just with that company, but if they have any other exits or successes on their resume. You also want to really get to know the people, right? And I don't mean go and spend time with them. If you can, great. If not, there's so many resources online with interviews being featured with these CEOs, okay?
Yep.
Your channel being one of them, our channel being another. And watching these CEOs talk about the company, and more importantly, not about just their company, but their understanding of the space, their understanding of the sector. Someone that we talked about, like Keith, and his understanding of just the silver and precious metals market is at such a high level. Or my brother Amir and his understanding of the nuclear energy market is at such a high level, where when you hear them speak, you're not just learning about the company, but you're actually getting educated on that sector, and that's really important. So I think it really starts with people. From there, then you have to focus on things like structure, the structure of the financing, the structure of the company. You obviously have to look at the project, the actual business, and what it is. With mining, things that you look at, it's many variables, but jurisdiction is if it's safe, if permitting is going to be an issue, and last but not least, and this is really a byproduct of the people, it's the management team's ability to raise money. Okay, the mining business, it's a capital intensive business. So companies have to constantly go out to market to raise money to fund their business, to fund their project. And
Right.
so if the management team doesn't have the ability to do that at very favorable terms to the company, then over time, they're just going to ruin the company. They're just going to dilute the heck out of it, and they're just going to destroy any shareholder value that exists. But people. And listen, if you follow these blogs and you follow the interviews and you start paying attention to the conferences, you start noticing the people. You start noticing who gets talked about the most, who guys like Rick Rule and Doug Casey and Marion Katusa are always talking up and always getting behind. And there's a reason why you start noticing patterns. And that's because those are the people that have always delivered.
Yeah, it's a great point you mentioned. I love that you emphasized it, even how you said that it's something we've heard since we were kids, yet maybe as we grow up and mature and wise and little, it really, I find it sinks in where, especially being a former options trader, I don't dig through too many balance sheets or numbers these days where it's just like, let me find the guy who's running the company. And you can often hear just by the way people speak, the way they present themselves. And maybe another way of looking at it is, let's say, something happens in someone's life. You have the one person that you'd go to and ask for advice, the other person who might be your friend, but you're like, well, I'm not going to check in with Bill on this one. And that's the thing where, especially with a company, it's some people have gone through the training and know the skill and know what to do, know how to handle those situations. And what is nice is that you can find those people if you reach out to them.
Yeah. And we have a very, very unique perspective when it comes to people as well. And that's through our parent company, Blender Media, which is a digital agency that builds websites for a lot of these public companies. And working with them closely, you pretty quickly, you start to tell the difference between the teams that just get shit done versus ones that are just struggling to execute. Okay.
Right.
And so that disparity does exist. Okay. Everyone means well. I'm not saying there's people out there that just don't want to do the job. Everyone means well, but there's just groups and teams that have an ability to deliver, and it's at a higher level than others.
Yeah, in fact, it reminds me, I did an interview with Brent Cook, I believe it was last year. And I was asking about how, are some companies more viable once you start getting the higher gold and silver prices? I remember his answer was really interesting, where it's like, that actually matters less in the end than you would think, where it's like the people who know what they're doing, they know what they're doing regardless of the price, they plan appropriately. And, you know, if you have people who know what they're doing and a good starting point to invest in.
Yeah.
Now, from the company standpoint, it sounds like a good deal, the private placement for the investor. Why would the company go that route? Because it seems like there's some trade-off there. So what is their incentive to finance through
It's
a private placement?
because it's actually a lot cheaper, so it's more efficient for the company as well to do a private placement versus a prospectus offering, which they have to go out and do a lot more legwork on that. So it's more efficient for the company as well. On the warrant side, for the company, the benefit is that it acts as a second financing. So as the warrants get exercised, if the warrants are in the money, then the company gets a second injection of capital into the deal. And you see that a lot. We saw, I believe it was with Equinox Gold. They had some insane amount. I think it was about, I may be wrong. I want to say it was close to 100 million in warrant exercises this year that happened. So that warrant, that sweetener, it incentivizes the investors to participate, but it also acts as a second financing for a company, which is incredible. So it when I say it's efficient, it's not just because it's fast, but it's more cost effective. If things go well and the price builds in value from the financing price, then you have these other sort of opportunities with warrants acting as a second financing. So I think all around it's a much more attractive method of financing. One of the only catches for investors, which I personally don't think it's a big deal at all, is that there's a 4-month hold on the shares that you acquire. But really, to me, if you're investing in a company and you believe in that company and you're participating in the financing, you shouldn't be looking at a 4-month horizon anyway.
Yep.
Unless something happens to you personally and you need the funds. But really, you shouldn't be investing that sort of money if you don't have enough savings for a cloudy day anyway. So having said all that, it's really a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like a good arrangement where incentives are aligned between shareholders and management, which, it's amazing. Again, I know we have some baseball fans in the audience where you see the players and the owners, about to destroy the sport because they can't get aligned. So whenever you do have those incentives aligned, another good sign to look for, would you say?
It's all about alignment. I totally agree.
And for folks that are indeed expecting a higher silver price, very active in the silver space, any last thoughts for them? Types of deals, anything perhaps coming up, or just advice to pass along for people who are looking for leverage on higher bullion prices?
Yeah, listen, I think so. I'm not aware of any deals coming up until they get announced. But one thing that we've added to the website, and we added this feature for this exact reason of what you just asked. We've added a watch list feature to the website, okay, where you set up an account. This is all free, by the way. You set up an account and you can add companies to your watch list. What the watch list does is that as soon as that company announces a financing, you get a notification. So you're basically on the clock with that company and you can do your due diligence and make a decision. If it's a company that you already know well and you really like, then it's a lot easier. And so a lot of times when these deals get announced, the window of opportunity is small. A deal will get announced and they can close the books on it pretty fast. So you need to also act fast and try to participate, whether it's through your broker or if you contact a company directly, if the opportunity is there. And so that watch list is a great tool to track the companies that you're following and really see what opportunities come up and act fast when they do.
Yep. Well, Arash, I appreciate you putting this site together so there's an easy way for people to keep track of what's going on. Perhaps before we wrap up, you could just mention the site again and any other final comments you'd like to share.
Yeah, so the site, privateplacements.com. And that's my
Look at
mug
that
right there.
handsome guy in the upper right corner there. And unprecedented economic stimulus. Certainly, we are in that environment. And I'm sorry for interrupting. Please
Oh,
continue.
no. So this is the website, privateplacements.com. As you can see, the financings and the navigation gives you all the main components. The reports, we do monthly sector reports. So the May Gold Review is right on the homepage. We have the video interviews. We have a warrants calendar. So really dig through the website. This financings page is kind of the main part. You need an account to access this. That's why it's grayed out right now. But again, the accounts
Where
are
do I
free.
select silver in here?
You got to register an account, so you can't. There you go.
Okay, so that is how it gets started.
And yeah, listen, for your audience, once you're in there and you're using it, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. It's arash@privateplacements.com. Arash is spelled ARASH. Happy to give you any feedback or any direction or guidance as much as I can, or introduce you to people that are able to. At the end of the day, this world that we're in, it's a small world. Once you go to these conferences,
Yep.
you start seeing all the same people, and I think it's a community, and it's really cool to exchange notes and ideas when making these investments, or thinking about them at the very least.
Well, I appreciate that. I do think there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and by all means, folks at home, learn about what you're doing before you invest. But Arash, I appreciate you being a resource for that. So the link is in the description field below, right down there, for privateplacements.com. Thank you for joining me today, sir. I appreciate this tutorial, and I'm going to go get my account set up now, and we'll look forward to checking in with you again soon. Hopefully seeing you at one of these conferences again soon as well.
Chris, I look forward to it. Thanks for having me on.